This is Chet Holmgren, and I'm down to dunk.
This is AJ Mitchell, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Alex Crusoe, and I'm down to dunk.
It's like baby bottle pop. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. This is Adam Flagler, and I'm down to dunk.
Hey, it's Isaiah Hartenstein, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Kason Wallace, and I'm down to dunk.
I can't spell Lucas. Hey, how do you spell Lucas? How do you spell Lucas?
This is Lou Dort, and I'm down to Dort.
This is Nikola Topic, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Dylan Jones, and I'm down to dunk.
This is Isaiah Joe, and I'm down to dunk.
And there's probably like 50 to 75 Beanie Babies.
Give me like your top 3 Pokemon.
Brother, I can't even name.
This is Jay Will, and I'm down to dunk.
Sometimes the way his brain works is it leaves a lot to be desired.
This is Kenrich Williams, and I'm down to dunk.
Charmander.
Yeah.
Charmander. Or you're more of a Charmeleon guy.
Charmeleon.
This is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm down to dunk.
Schlecht. You know what
Schlecht?
it means? Yeah.
That means like bad.
It means bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
Well, it was a good interview, so it wasn't bad.
JDub, year 3, and I'm down to dunk for the 3rd time. Thank you.
Welcome to Down to Dunk. I'm your host, Andrew Schlecht. We're part of the Athletic Podcast Network. With me on a Monday is my good friend, Rylan Stiles. Rylan, what's up?
What's up, Andrew? Very glad to be here.
Thankful you could join me. Michele is on vacation, enjoying some good times with his family. And so I got my guy, Rylan, here to answer some listener questions and talk a little bit about this Spurs game from last night. Interesting game. It kind of had the same feel as some recent Thunder games, I would say, where, listen, and some people are going to ask this question coming up. Here's what I have to say about the way the Thunder are playing lately. 82 games is a lot of games, okay? It's a lot of basketball games. And when you have like an almost 10-game lead on the second team in the Western Conference, it feels like even more games, to be honest. And so are they playing like they have, most of the season? No, they're not. Is it cause for concern? No, it's not. 82 games is a lot. Go look at really any great team. They all have these kind of lulls. And the thing is, like, everybody's like, what's happened with them since the All-Star break? They're 5-1. 5-1. Okay. I don't have a lot of worries about it. I don't have a lot of concerns about it. You want me to be concerned about it? You're going to have to find me a really good argument as to why I would be. Not concerned. Another thing that's not concerning is JDub, who was awesome last night. He had 41 points on 15 to 24 from the field, 6 boards, 7 assists, a steal, and a block, 0 turnovers. He and Shea became the first duo since Shaq and 3D to score 30 with 0 turnovers for both, which I actually think theirs is way more impressive than Dennis Scott and Shaq, because both those guys were like play finishers for the most part, which is probably an insult to both of them, but like, just go with me here. JDub and Shea are like key distributors, like guys that have the ball in their hands more than anybody else on the team. That was pretty impressive. But talk to me about JDub and what you saw from him last night.
I thought that JDub last night put it all together, where like he hasn't given you these fourth quarter explosions up until this week, where he did it against Brooklyn Wednesday. He did it last night. I thought that JDub, what was so impressive about that game wasn't even the point total. The 41 was nice. They left him in there an extra possession to go get that 40 piece, the third Thunder player to get 40 in a game this year, which is crazy. But it's how he got to that mark that's really encouraging for the Thunder, is that you're starting to see him put it all together of what it takes motor-wise, what it takes discipline-wise to be an elite defender, which he's been all year long, and be a high-level on-ball player, especially in the non-Shea lineups. And for as much talk as we can give about this week, and I think that you hit it on the head, I mean, this team is built on its defense. Its defense has slipped since the All-Star break. But go look at those Warrior teams that were so legendary. Their shooting, which was what they were built on, it also slipped in February and March before they inevitably got back on track once the games intensified. But this week, Wednesday and Sunday, you pulled away in those games with Shea on the bench. And that's been the biggest concern about this Thunder team. I think that this week shows you how you should at least be confident in the fact that the Thunder can stay afloat without Shea on the floor, so long as they have a 7-footer next to JDub. And if JDub can play the way he played Wednesday and Sunday, you can even extend leads at times with Shea off the floor as they pulled away in these games. But his aggressiveness getting downhill was the most encouraging part. But also, I don't know about you, Andrew, but I thought he was way more poised as a ball handler, setting up his teammates and commanding an offense on the ball, and not just being a play finisher, not just getting the ball and attacking off the catch, but really leading an offense that helped them stay in a groove the entire game.
Yeah, I mean he was way more in control, and I think too there's just been a lot of times this season where JDub is not very loud when he's on the court. You know, like he can fade, has times where he fades a little bit here and there. That has just not been the case lately, especially in the fourth quarter. Since the All-Star break, he leads the team in fourth quarter scoring. He's averaging 9.3 points per game, a rebound and a half, an assist and a half in the fourth quarter. So, yes, I agree. Like, he's just looked better. He's looked better in fourth quarters. He looks kind of like the guy he was last year. And so it's just been nice to see him kind of turn it on a little bit. He probably heard you talking on Dream Team the other day when we were arguing about it.
I'm sure he did hear that.
And he was like, listen, I'm going to prove that guy Rylan wrong. That's just, he writes it like on the inside of his shoe or something. He's like, Rylan on one and then Stiles on the other one. And he's like, I'm going to go get it.
I'd be really honored if he did that. That'd be incredible. But yeah, I mean, look, I said it on Dream Team. I've said it on my show. Like the question would be, what do you get from JDub as a number 2 option? And I think that what we talked about on Dream Team, it is a little bit unfair of the expectation level to be like, hey, in your second ever playoff run, you've got to go be this bona fide co-star. I think that we do discount that a lot, because if he isn't great in the playoffs for the second straight season, it's not a terrible indictment on him. You can go through NBA history and see how many times these legends have failed. I mean, Dirk was looked at as a loser, and then he puts it all together in the 2011 run, and all of a sudden now we look at him way differently. But look how long that took Dirk to put it all together. He won MVP and got beat in the first round. Like, this stuff happens for every great player. And so I do think it's a little bit unfair to put all this expectation on a team that's largely playing in their second ever playoff run. But they're so talented that they could do it. Like, if you get this version of JDub, and not even speaking of the 41 points, just speaking of the aggressiveness and the ability to get downhill. You saw he had 7 free throw attempts last night, and there were numerous and ones as well. If you just get that aggression level, it will be enough for this team, because in the playoffs, you're going to play Shea 40-something minutes a game.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm that's what we're all waiting for.
Yeah.
We're all waiting to see it. I believe that JDub can be that guy this year. I think that he has the skill set now. I think that he has the aggression now that we've seen recently. He's got to put it together, though, and I'm really interested to see if he can do it. Someone else who had a season high last night, Cason Wallace, 19 points on 7 of 14. Do you know what his career high is? Have you looked this up?
I've not looked this up. I think his career high would probably be something like 23.
Ooh, you're very close. 22.
Dang it.
Yep. 22. But he had 19, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, and a steal. He played great yesterday. I thought he offensively, defensively, I thought he was great. He had these, and JDub had a couple of these too, just like these high off the backboard, like running layups that are just like the degree of difficulty. Like, just go try it. If you've got a hoop in your driveway, just go try a few of those. And just humble yourself a little bit, and just think a little bit more of these guys, because those are tough shots.
They are. And I think that you saw what he's able to do in the starting lineup too. He had 8 points in the blink of an eye, at the first stoppage, go with that and one heading into the break. He was just awesome from the opening tip. And I think that that's why I'm such a big proponent of making him a starter and using only one big in the starting 5, which would be Chet, because of just what he sets a tone as defensively. It turns into easy offense. It gets you started on the right foot. And if you give this team, Monday withstanding, if you give this team a sizable lead or get them off to a good start, it's going to be really hard to overcome them, as it has been all year, sans for one game. So I think that that level of intensity is what you need in the playoffs, to not let teams get comfortable, to not let teams start to feel a rhythm. And he provides that on both ends, I think. And you're seeing him finish plays really well off the ball, getting cuts in the dunker spot, knocking down catch and shoot threes. It's all just really been good from Cason Wallace. And I think that he, has proven to be one of the 5 best starters on the team.
Yeah, I think ultimately it makes sense to have Chet in there as a starting center, bring iHeart off the bench, play them in spots together, like certainly.
Yes.
And even you can change the starting lineup, based on who you're playing in the playoffs. If you're playing a bigger team, then you can, or even if you're playing a smaller team, Mark loves to do the thing where he's mismatching with a team size-wise. He doesn't love to do the matchup thing. And so I'm curious to see how and when they use that, but like there's proof of concept with either iHeart or Chet in as the starter here with these guys. And part of it is like you can be switchy, you can still have size in the middle. There's just like a lot of like great things about it, and there's not as many questions about the two big lineup, which I think has been fine, and the numbers even say it's been fine. But I kind of have always thought it would go more this way than it has, but then again, like we haven't really seen Chet and iHeart together all that much. Has the injury report come out, by the way? Speaking of
Chet is back. Isaiah Joe's still out. Everyone else is
Chet
ready to go.
is back. Chet is back. That's great. That's great news. When he turned that ankle against Atlanta, first he kind of grabbed at his knee, and you're just feeling terrible.
Yeah,
it was terrible. That was a terrible moment where I just thought, man, they're going to lose him again. But he was back yesterday. Our buddy Joel had a video of him warming up, and he's hopping around on one leg, and in fact, that left leg. So you kind of think that he was okay pretty quickly after that one, and possibly could have played last night if really he needed to.
Yeah.
But you'd rather save him for the Rockets. Yeah,
they weren't going to
exactly.
play him on both games anyway, so they gave him an extra day rest. Let him come play at home.
It's great.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
And you got to beat the Rockets. I mean, come on.
Yeah, the Rockets and Thunder fan bases do have a lot of animosity. Yeah, when he was grabbing at that knee, I was thinking that we might have to call Andy ACLs for his expert opinion of what's going to happen next. So.
I've got opinions about knees and recovery. Trust me.
Baby.
I was in baby. I was in
I have a lot of opinions about knees and what they do.
Do you?
Oh yeah.
No. I was gonna say I was in physical therapy for 2 hours today, so I've got lots of opinions about recovery. Okay. Any other sweeping thoughts? You want to talk about Oos? Oos had a pretty sick block. He had 7 points. Huh? He did. He looked pretty good. I mean, I'm not someone who's just going to throw out just false Oos hope out there into the world, but he looked pretty good. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I mean, if you weren't oozing during Oos's chase down block, I don't know what to tell you. You might not have a heartbeat, but yeah, I mean, from the word go, he was good. His first play in there, he attacks off the catch and throws a little pocket pass to JDub for a dunk, hits a catch and shoot 3 the next time down, and then that block. I mean, he went and got it. The Thunder had the challenge to make sure it was a block, which it was, and it should have been called on the floor as a block. But that really wrestled away momentum and stifled the last Spurs hope of getting back into that game. And so he deserves a lot of credit for the way that he played on Sunday and contributed to a win when you were in a game where you started out down 2 rotational players. You had a little Donnybrook and you got down 2 more, and Oos stepped in and played really well.
That's what Oos does, man. Just bringing it all the time. Oh, loose. we have to talk about the scuffle, the kerfuffle. So Kenrich Williams gets hit by Julian Champagny inadvertently. Like, I don't think he meant to. Kenrich has kind of gotten hit a couple times in the last couple games, and so I just wonder if he's just had it. As a father of 2 children, I'm a father of 3 children. I know what it's like when you've just had it, when it's just enough. I've just had enough. Okay. And he got pretty mad at Julian Champagny. They kind of get into like this NBA scuffle where there's no chance I'm actually going to hurt you, but I'm going to be mad at you. And I'm going to kind of grab around your jersey and kind of shove and probably say mean things to you. And then Dort gets into it. And my guy, Jeremy Sohan, gets into it with Dort. And somehow Dort's the one that gets thrown out.
Yeah.
Why didn't they just...
Mark
Yeah,
said
go
after
ahead,
the
go
game that
ahead.
he got thrown out because of something that he said, which I find it hard to believe that Dort said a trigger word and Sohan didn't, but Dort got thrown out because of what he said in the altercation, which is a load of you know what.
Give me a break. Give me a break, because like how many games? Like I'm watching so many games with guys saying all kinds of things. Like what is the threshold of somebody saying something that gets them thrown out? Like give me a break with that. Like that is, if that's true, if that is actually true, that's a disaster. Like that's so dumb.
And that was what
so
Mark's
dumb.
complaint was. He said after the game that like he's cool if you want to eject them because of what he said, and he said that the ref told him what Lou said, and he thinks that it's fair to throw him out for that. But he also mentioned, you know, I've been standing here and have heard way worse stuff from other players who do not get ejected. So if you're going to have a zero tolerance policy with Lou saying something, it's got to be the same way for everybody, and it's just not. And so they wrongfully ejected Lou, and you know the Thunder battled through it. But Andrew, you want to do some top 5 ways to say fighting in basketball?
Fighting in basketball? Yeah, we can do that.
Well, adjectives. My
Okay,
number one pick.
What do you got?
My number one pick is it's a Donnybrook.
A Donnybrook.
Yeah, Donnybrook is top 5 for me. I go Donnybrook. I go brouhaha.
Brouhaha. I like brouhaha.
I go kerfuffle.
I think I like kerfuffle for sure.
Little dust up.
Grapple.
Little fisticuffs.
Skirmish.
Ooh, skirmish is good.
Skirmish is good.
I guess
sparring match.
Yeah, they sparred. They went to blows.
A fracas.
A fracas is an underrated one that was made popular last year. So I like that new entry into the game.
A melee.
A melee is really good. But Donnybrook is just, and come on, if you get to a little Donnybrook, oh goodness. Put the kids to bed whenever they start the fighting. Oh goodness.
Is that like from the 1920s or something?
The Donnybrook?
Yeah.
I think Donnybrook is it transcends time.
I don't think it does. Does it?
I thought so.
I do like that as well.
Let us know in the chat if you've ever heard it called a Donnybrook. I actually had to issue an apology to Lawton Public Schools for calling something a Donnybrook, but
in what setting?
Well, I was broadcasting a Lawton High game and they got into a fight, and so I just was like, oh my goodness, they're getting into a little Donnybrook, a little dust up, a little brouhaha, and they didn't like highlighting that, but you know what am I to do, Andrew? It's part of the job to illustrate what's going on.
You're supposed to talk about what's happening.
And what happened? What happened was a little dust up.
You're being censored.
Being
censored in Lawton.
Media. We need to really take this to city council.
There needs to be a story on that.
KSWO, you know my phone number. Hit me up. We can get this going. I haven't found my news station up here. Also put that in the chat. Since moving here from Lawton, it's been weird watching ABC like basketball, and it turns into something that's not KSWO. And I know that all of you Oklahoma Cityans have your loyalties to News 9 and the other ones. Mm-hmm. I think I'm a News 9 guy.
Are you a 9 guy?
I think so. They got T-Row. T-Row's my guy. I think I'm a News 9.
T-Row's back. That changes things a little bit.
Are you a News 9?
No. I'm a 5 guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll have to check out and dabble into the 5s.
My guy Brian Keating. Shout out Carson Cunningham as well. He used to be on 5. Yeah, I'm a 5 guy. Yeah, for sure.
Long-standing 5 guy, or did you ever swing loyalties?
No. Stayed true to the 5. Yeah.
See, this is just a completely different way of living for me. We have one news station in Lawton, so everybody's a KSWO person.
So who's the sports guy? Who's the sports guy down there in Lawton?
Back in my day, and I believe it's still true, it was this guy named Kyle Weatherly. He thought he was the talk of the town because he was the sports guy. And in reality, you're covering Eisenhower. Let's relax a little bit. We're not exactly doing groundbreaking work here. But he's a big shot. So you had KSWO, you had the Constitution. That's kind of it. But up here, I'm overstimulated. There's like 17 news stations, and everybody like fights about it all the time of what weather station to tune into, what news station is the best.
Yeah, I go with 5.
Okay. Well,
I don't.
Andrew, you've never led me astray before, so I'll stick with 5. I'll change over.
Okay.
Who has the best traffic reports, by the way? Because I'm sick and tired of trying to go back home to Lawton, and all of a sudden 6 highways are down, and I have no idea what's going on. Okay, we can get back to basketball if you want.
I'm the wrong guy to ask about that. I'm not going anywhere.
You don't go down to the shady 580 too often, Andrew. I've tried to pull you down there a few times into the mud.
We went 2 years ago. Did a little hiking. It was actually pretty fun.
Yeah, come on down to Mount Scott.
Mount Scott's not bad, man.
We should make a down the dunk vlog of Mount Scott going to Wayne's.
I would do it. I'll be ready.
Right. Hold them to it.
I can't run up it by then, but I'll be able to do some.
Neither can I. So let's just let's just let's just take a jaunt down up Mount Scott. Stroll, if you will.
So we have 75 questions from the loyal dunkers here to try to answer, and we'll try to get through these as fast as we can. D Goforth 918 wants to know. He wants to know the top 3 guesses as to what Lou said to get tossed.
I don't know if we could say that.
Listen, we won't say all of them out loud. My guess is it had something to do with like threatening somebody's life. Okay, that's got to be one of them.
Threatening their life.
Like what else are you going to say that's going to get you thrown out? Or maybe like expletives, expletives are not going to get you thrown out of an NBA game. Let's just be real. Yeah, no one would play.
But they have to be involved though.
Oh, sure, they're involved.
I just told you, Andy, I'm going to punch you in the face. They're not throwing me out, right?
I prefer that your life ended now.
Yeah,
Jeremy.
Hear you, Andrew. You will rue the day that you went collar to collar with me in San Antone.
What else would it be? Come on.
Yeah.
What else is he going to say? To get tossed?
Meet me in the back. Pause.
Meet me in the. Oh, that is not going to get you thrown out of a game. Meet me in the back.
If you threaten to you got to say some cuss words in there too. But we're a family-friendly show, I thought.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, this is family-friendly.
If you insinuate that bleep bleep bleep, let's go to the tunnels and let's carry this on, I don't think that the league would like that too much.
Yeah, I don't know.
What if you just said bleep your bleeping hair? Insulting someone is not good.
It's not, but come on. This is a league that Kevin Garnett played in.
Is there anything that someone
played a lot of
say
games
to you to force that reaction? Like in your next game back at the Baycom Center, someone could just say something and you grab him by the shirt collar. And
I can't imagine.
Matty T's ejecting you and he's like, no, go back. You're done.
Get out of here. You're out of here. I honestly don't know what that would even be.
Yeah, maybe I don't have enough convictions, but I don't know what you could say to me. I know, that I would get that mad.
Yeah. Something about my family would probably get me there,
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm not in many such competitive environments like that to where someone is just going to just spout something off to me. And if they do, then I don't know. I'll grab Lou Dort to help me out, my mallet finger friend. Okay.
Yeah. You guys can bond over that.
That's right. Next question from 405 fan. What's up with the Oklahoma City defense since the All-Star break? It's kind of similar to what I was saying earlier, that I honestly just think that 82 games is too many games. And I think it's just too difficult to play the way that they want to play on the defensive end for that to just hold up for all 82 games. And right now they're kind of flip-flopping a little bit of the way that they've played, because you could let go of the rope a little bit in the fourth quarter in most games, obviously not the Timberwolves game, but in most games you could, because you're up by so many points and they would just turn it on from the jump. And so some of it is that I just think 82 games is too many, that it's just difficult to play that brand of basketball for that long. I assume that we will see them ramp up as we get closer to the playoffs and they'll start to look like the team that we saw earlier. But don't think there's any like big sweeping explanation for it other than that. And that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the defensive stuff, I think it's pretty simple. It's a long season. We talked at the top of the show about every great team goes through this of whatever they're built on. They're not as crisp during this time of the year. And I think that a little sliver of it has been the double big stuff of it. That's just a completely different identity and something that they have to find. They have to figure out what is their identity and their core discipline, shells whenever they have two bigs, because you can't switch 1 through 5 at all 5 positions when you have two bigs on the floor. So you've got to kind of shift a little bit and play a different style. And they haven't quite found their footing. So you mix that with a little bit of like a, foot off the gas pedal. And then you get this. And what this is still a slipping defense. They're 22nd in defense since the All-Star break, but a team that's still doing enough to win. And that's the bottom line, that like they're going to get back on track. They're going to have to get back on track on the defensive end in a month from now, whenever the playoffs begin. But until then, you're just trying to survive the last few dog days of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to get like a week-long break after the season ends. People forget about that too, like because they're going to be the 1 seed.
Yep, you got the play-in tournament that you just get to just sit back and relax and wait.
And if I'm not mistaken, their game has to start on Sunday, because the Friday will determine who the 8th seed is, and you can't play Friday, Saturday. So they're going to get like a literal week.
Yep, exactly. Hot rock and roll. Yeah, because I remember like the Thunder didn't lose a game for like a month or something last year.
Yeah.
Because they beat the Pelicans and it took like a couple weeks, and then they didn't really lose like the last few games of the season. So yeah, it'll have a similar feel where it's like, oh my gosh, like where are the Thunder? It's going to feel like that for a minute. Hot rock and roll wants to know, the Thunder have so many first and second round picks that they could potentially never actually exercise the pick, as the roster is already full, and Sam wants to continue with this crew. Question: can we literally sell a pick for cash, or multiple picks for cash with no trade? Yes, you can sell draft picks for cash to other teams. There's a limit to the amount that you can spend, which will not allow the Thunder to actually get their like the proper value out of them. So you don't do that. You could sell a second rounder if you wanted to, and like trade like the rights to somebody or whatever if you wanted to do that. But I think that we'll see more trades like we did at the draft last year, where the Thunder spend like 5 second round picks to get like a late first, or they will trade a current lottery pick or a first round pick for a pick in the future. Like they're going to continue to kind of just spread these picks out as they go. And you just don't know how all these picks are going to convey either. I mean, you look at what could happen this season, where they could have potentially had 3 picks. And right now it's looking like it could only be 1, just depending on what happens with Philly, which is still like the Thunder have better odds to keep that pick than they do to actually lose it. It's just like slightly in their favor to keep that pick. But, Miami, if they miss the playoffs, then that pick stays in Miami. And then if Philly somehow winds up in the top 6, then they keep that pick. And then they're only left with this pick from the Clippers, which they can find a way to clear a roster spot and bring that whoever that guy is in and develop him and whatever from there. Now, if there's 2 guys, I think it gets a little more complicated, and you might need to trade one of them for a pick in the future, but they'll figure it out, And I think like if they do get a chance to pick 7th in this draft, who knows what happens, with whatever player is there, like Connor Knippel or Liam McNeely or your guy Derek Queen or whoever it is. Like there's like a pretty nice talent upgrade that could exist there. And a guy that could be like waiting in the wing to take a spot that you can't afford to keep. Like eventually you're not going to be able to afford to keep everybody. You want to keep everybody, but you won't be able to. And so drafting at 7 could end up being like a pretty significant thing for this team, especially just off the bench, as you like just can't keep everyone. So yeah, I don't think they're selling these picks for cash. I don't think that's happening, but they are going to find very creative ways to deal with it. And it's not, these are good problems to have. Like anybody that complains about it or talks about it in a weird way, it's like, listen, like every team would love to be in this position, every single one. So like, let's not act like this is like some burden the Thunder have.
It's just currency, and you'd never give up money. Like everyone in their heart of hearts would want more money no matter how much money you have. And the Thunder have a lot of money being draft picks, and they could, and I think should and will make moves like they did at the deadline where, you keep pushing these draft picks further and further away because immediately they don't need a ton of draft picks in this draft because of how the roster is set up. But the bill is going to come due to where you are going to have to make tough decisions on guys outside of your top three, and you are going to have to replace those guys with cost-efficient talent. And the only way to do that is with a good draft class, is with having multiple draft picks to replenish your roster. And you want to push these picks to those drafts where it becomes necessary. And I think that that's what you've seen the Thunder do over the last few off seasons, getting off of picks for picks in 2030. And once we get to 2030, 2031, you'll start to see why they're doing that as the roster does change just due to the CBA.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm fascinated to see what Sam Presti does, because here's the deal too, is like Sam continues to set the tone for like what people think about team building and draft picks and all of that. And he continues to kind of just change that. And I think he's going to continue to do that. He's going to continue to push things along in ways where people are like, oh, I didn't think you could do that, or I didn't realize that you could handle it that way. And he's really changed the way that people look at draft picks and the way that teams handle that. And so really the next, 5 or 6 years are going to tell teams a lot about that strategy in general, with the way the Thunder have done it. Let's see. At About to Dunk wants to know, is Shea's MVP campaign impeding Mark from gathering relevant data from this roster? Once Shea hits 65 games, should he sit a few games or fourth quarters in competitive games to test the other players in pressure situations? This is not a criticism at all of SGA or Mark.
I don't think that that's true even in this current state. I mean, Wednesday and Sunday being the biggest examples of like those games were close enough to where Shea should have came in at his normal time of 7 minutes on the clock and he rolls in that fourth quarter. But because the current lineup was working and they were getting that data of how JDub leads those units, Shea didn't come in until the game was academic, as Chris Fisher would say. And that's a credit to Shea and a credit to Mark to being willing to let these lineups just go out there and play and continue to play well if they're on that right track. Because most superstars would have just demanded to be back in the game like normal and get those minutes. And most coaches would have been rigid and said, well, who cares what this lineup on the floor is doing? I'd rather have my top 5 player back in this game. And the Thunder have done a really good job of balancing that, even going back to that Monday game where they did a lot of good up into the very fourth quarter. But part of that good was in that first quarter, SGA checked out midway through the first, which is a rarity for his rotational pattern because iHeart and JDub really had it going. And so like his willingness, Mark's and Shea's willingness to bend the rotations despite him being an MVP candidate, I think is a credit to them in that they're already doing that. They're already testing these lineups. And there's been games this year where you could have like banged the table to get Shea back in there earlier to salvage a game, but he let JDub and Hartenstein play through it. They did enough to keep the game competitive for then Shea's return to win the game. And they took those experiences and now you're seeing them actually flourish in them over this last week. So I think that they've already done that of collecting data and collecting a sample size. And the harsh reality also in all the collecting data points would be Shea's going to play 40 or 42 minutes every night in every playoff game, no matter what's going on, unless you're just up by 30 in the fourth quarter. So, you do want to see what it's like without Shea, but this team's no team is going to be built to play without their superstar in meaningful games either.
Yeah. I mean, the Thunder are Shea Gilgeous-Alexander in many ways. Like they will go as he goes. And so I don't know. I mean, sure, you'd love for everybody to be able to gain all these different experiences and for things to work out perfectly. But like the truth is Shea is going to play 40 minutes out of a 48-minute game in the playoffs. They're going to need 8 minutes from like a Chet JDub lineup to just keep them afloat. And Shea will be right back in. It's like you don't, I don't know. Like I don't think that you have to worry about it like that. And I mean, go look at the lineup data too. Like go take a look at it and you can do it, NBA.com/stats. And if you look at that and go to the lineup tools and you search Oklahoma City Thunder, like there's so many lineups. They've tried so much stuff already this season. They're going to do more of it, but like they have a lot of data. Like I don't think Shea is ruining any of that for them. At ace underscore. I don't think that's how you say that, but okay. I'm really interested in Topic. Amazing talent, but next season, whose minutes will he be eating into? No chance that we don't use him, but minutes are already tight as they are. And many guys, I think, deserve the minutes they have now. It's a great point. I think it's going to be really difficult for Nikola Topic to get a lot of consistent minutes unless he is like super good from the jump. You almost have to be good. Now, they will find ways to squeeze 9 minutes here, 12 minutes there. We've seen them do that with Dylan Jones this season, who's played a lot more minutes than a lot of first-round picks this year. They will find ways to play him. They have found ways to play Ousmane Dieng this season. They have found ways. I mean, they found ways to play AJ Mitchell. You know, he only played 34 games for them, but you know, in those, I mean, he played 561 minutes in 34 games. I mean, they found a way to play him. Now, somebody's gonna have to sacrifice for sure. Also, there will be times during the season, we've seen that this season, that not everyone's going to be healthy, and he'll get chances then. But the fact of the matter is, he's going to have to be good to play for this team. Like you just have to. You can't play guys that aren't that good on this team. One, they're going to stick out like a sore thumb, like Dylan Jones has this season, or else you just can't make it. So like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with that. I'm excited to see what he looks like. I'm excited for the summer league experience with Topic, but he's got to be good from the jump.
Yeah, and I think that the Thunder and the listeners should be comfortable with taking a slower approach on a guy who's coming back from another major knee injury and is going to be put into not just playing NBA basketball as a rookie makes the leap, but playing in this unique system on both ends of the floor. So unless he can like defend his butt off, which is what got AJ Mitchell into a consistent rotational role, which I don't think that Topic can, with all due respect, defend at the level that AJ could, you're not going to stay on the floor for Mark without playing defense. And he's got to learn the team defensive aspect of all of this. And he's got to learn how to run the offense and how to play off the ball, because he's not going to have the opportunity to just soak up a ton of on-ball minutes just on paper right now, to where I could envision it looking more like Dylan Jones in the sense of course, I think he'll be better than Dylan Jones in those minutes, but overall limited minutes while learning in the G League what this system is, those system skills that he's going to have to pick up to be able to play on both ends. And the Thunder have a really good G League staff. They have a lot of trust in their G League staff to get these guys ready. And however he adjusts to this system, I think will determine how much he gets to play his rookie year. And this is going to be a long-term thing where next season he might not see a ton of action and you might not see a pathway for him to go out on the floor. But what about the season after that and the season after that? And as these guys get more expensive, then since you've played it slow and you've done the dirty work of letting him integrate and not just sink or swim into the roster, it can really pay off in the long run, which I would imagine might be the route that the Thunder take.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm really curious to see how it all works, because it is really difficult. There are very few guys that are placed onto championship teams that can really make it. It is really, really difficult. And so I'm just curious to see how it all works. I think that Mark Daignault and his staff are one of the best for something like this, because they are such a great developmental staff that I think that if he can make it, he'll do great. We saw it this year with AJ. AJ fit and he was good. He was good right away. played well on defense, like you mentioned, and then offensively, he could replicate some of the stuff that Shea did. Obviously, at a much smaller level, but like he could do some of like the same stuff driving to the hoop, which really helped the Thunder, and it really helped a guy like JDub too, because he created some like nice space because he could get to the rack. But yeah, I'm curious. That's all. I don't know. I don't really know. I think that's one that we just have to wait and see. At Poncho, OKC, if OKC makes it to the Western Conference Finals, who is most likely going to be there with them in the West Finals? So if the season ended today, one, that would be weird. Number two,
It would be.
Lakers, Nuggets, Grizzlies, Rockets, Clippers are all in. And then you have Warriors, Wolves are at 7-8. Then you have Kings and Mavs at 9-10. And so only two of those teams make it, which is wild and very sad for two of those fan bases. Obviously, this breaks pretty well for the Thunder because you would wait to see either the Lakers or the Nuggets until the Western Conference Finals, which I think those are like the two teams that I would probably place toward the top right now with the way that they're playing is the Lakers and the Nuggets. And then from there, like I think the Thunder wouldn't have much trouble with a lot of these teams that are left. And so I feel like everything is kind of falling into place where if this is how the bracket ended, I would say like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. And so I still lean Denver in this instance. I know the Lakers have played really well. I know the defensive numbers look really good. I'm not buying it yet. But maybe that's just me being a Lakers hater. I don't know. But I would go Nuggets. What about you, Rylan?
I'd go Nuggets too. Just having the best player in the world is going to always give you a leg up in some of these series. And I do want to hold off on crowning this Lakers defense of they're going to, even if you don't think that they're going to bottom out, they're not going to be one of the best defenses in the league through the rest of this season and the playoffs. They just don't have the personnel to do that. The question will be, how much do they level off at? Like, what's the middling ground between these two sides? And I could see it being the Lakers, but I will lean Denver. I think that either way, the Thunder have a lot of advantages, and they'd have to, of course, go out there and execute those advantages, but they do have some built-in advantages against both teams, specifically the Lakers. It'd be a lot of fun to see it unfold, but I'll lean Denver just because we've seen best players in this league drag rosters deep into the postseason.
Mm-hmm. Tyler Tyler W. Gibbs. Sorry, Tyler. The last couple seasons, OKC has been one of the best clutch teams with Shea and Dub. This season, OKC has played a lot less clutch time, with the most wins being decided by the end of the third quarter. How do you think this will affect us, if at all, in the playoffs? Listen, like most of the teams that have like these crazy net ratings go pretty far in the playoffs because they're just the better teams. And the reason the Thunder were playing a lot more clutch time minutes was because they weren't quite as good, and you're just in more battles with teams. Clutch stuff, really, I really think it's pretty fluky when it comes down to it in the regular season. You look at that Thunder team with Chris Paul, incredible clutch team, just outrageously good. And then when you got to the playoffs, you're playing in these clutch time moments against the Rockets, and it didn't pay off at all. Like it just didn't. A lot of it can be just randomness at times. Some of it is like, yes, the Thunder played great and they have like the right players and you have the best players and all that stuff matters without a doubt. But I would rather have the scenario they're in now than play a ton of clutch minutes and those clutch numbers look good for you, because I just think when it comes down to it, it's a little bit fluky. The playoffs are just different. Teams play differently in the playoffs. It's just way tougher in the playoffs, especially in the clutch. And I just don't think that all it really comes down to is like, do you have the best player? And do you have a player that can make shots when everything gets tight? Like that's, to me, that's what it all comes down to. I don't really think that it's anything to worry about with this team. Like, I really don't. I think a lot of it is like, do you have the best player? If you do, great. You'll probably be fine. And if you don't, and you've had some luck down the stretch, of games in the regular season, then I don't think that really translates. You look at De'Aaron Fox and the Kings, like, great, won the Clutch Player of the Year award, had so many great clutch moments last year, didn't do them any good. So, like, I'm just not worried about it in that way.
Yeah, I don't think that you should pay much mind to it. If this team struggles in the clutch in the postseason, I don't know if they will or won't, but if they did, I don't think it'll be due to a lack of clutch experience in the regular season. I think it'd be more so due to just them being put in a situation they've never been in before. And let's be honest, clutch regular season and clutch playoffs is way different. And it's obviously built in against way better teams. Whereas you can get to those clutch battles against worse teams that, yeah, it was clutch minutes, but you should have won the game anyway. So yeah, I don't think you should read into anything about the clutch regular season stats.
From Enkit Pancakes, he wants to know, this is a crazy hypothetical, but let's say the Clippers pick turns to gold and they draft Cooper Flag. What happens to the Thunder's roster this summer / by game 1 of 2025-26 season to accommodate? Flag will need minutes for development, which means someone else will have to lose minutes. One, that would be amazing to happen. By the way, I mean, to me, like, it's not that complicated. I would probably move Case and Wallace to the bench. I would move Cooper Flag into the starting lineup next to Chet, and you run Shea, Dort, Dub, Cooper Flag, and Chet, and then you have this killer bench where, like, yeah, you may need to trade somebody eventually, just like we've been talking about. But listen, like, I don't think it's that complicated, to be honest.
Yeah, it's not that complicated in the short term. In the long term, obviously, it becomes more complicated with a guy like whoever is going to reduce minutes, whoever's going to reduce roles. Obviously, that can become hairy in the future, but for the immediate future, I don't think that it would be complicated at all. It would be hilarious, though, if you got back-to-back years of a double jump, because the Hawks jumped up and got Zachary Richache from losing the play-in last year, and the Clippers, if they were to get to the play-in, then lose the play-in, and then jump, that'd be crazy. And what a reward, what a victory lap that trolls will do on the internet for the Thunder and against the Clippers if it happened. But yeah, listen, I mean, Cooper Flag, if he's a generational talent, I know that everybody's attached to everybody on this roster, but short of your top 3, you do whatever it takes to integrate Cooper Flag into the mix.
Yeah, and he's kind of the guy that if the Thunder are missing anything, they're missing like a 6'9" athlete that's like an ultimate connector piece and just an insane defender. I mean, just think about like Chet and Coop down low on defense. Oof. Like you're done. It's over.
You're cooked.
Yeah.
Death lineups all around.
Oh yeah. Even at Coop as your small ball center running. I mean,
the Paycom Center, like just screaming Coop. That'd be pretty wild.
Oh, don't even get me started. Okay. Super chat from Adam Loves Horror says, I'll have to check this later while at work, but you two are great. Good to see the collab. When next season starts, do we have too many guards?
You got to really enunciate Adam Loves Horror. But yeah, I mean, listen, I think when the season starts next year, it's tough to imagine we'll have too many. We've been playing the hits on the too many guard things for like 7 straight drafts now. It feels like since the Trey Man draft, we've been playing the too many guards thing. The bottom line is, the Thunder do not view players as guards. I think that there's plenty of players on this roster who you would initially look at them and just in a vacuum call them a guard and they play forward for the Thunder. Like, it doesn't necessarily matter. And I think that the only for sure difference of the guard rotation next year would be Topic, and we've kind of already addressed what we think about Topic being integrated into this team. So I'm going to say no, not too many guards for how the Thunder want to play.
Yeah, and you think about like who the guys that they have. Like it's Shea, it's Dub, it's AJ, but like we all know that like those three are the only three that are like watching film together because that's the only three that play like that. And so I'm not worried about it because like Cason Wallace plays almost like a forward for them at times, as does Alex Caruso, as does Wiggins, as does Isaiah Joe. So like I just don't think that we're talking about, when you talk about guards, I can think a lot of those guys we consider guards, even Lou Dort, but they're guard size, but they play the wing, Yeah. So I don't think they have too many guards, but is everybody going to get a ton of minutes? No. But like that's just how it goes on any NBA team. Like not everybody can play. Okay. Let's see. From Michael Gailey wants to know, what team could OKC beat in a brawl? Clearly we beat the Spurs, but could we take the Rockets? I think the Grizzlies and Wolves would be a close matchup too. I got us in a brawl against the rest of the West though. Okay, let's go down the Western Conference. Who could beat the Thunder in a brawl in the Western Conference? Who are you scared of as far as guys that could actually fight?
I mean, the Rockets do have Steven Adams as a part of their roster, so I think it'd be a little bit hypocritical for a Thunder pod not to say Steven Adams gives you a leg up. I think that Dylan Brooks, you can talk about his like fake tough guy act. I think in reality, he's got a little bit of crazy in him. And I don't know about you, Andy, but if you get into a little brouhaha with a guy that's got a little crazy in him, you might want to walk away. So I would give the Rockets possibly an edge for those two
Tari
factors.
as well. Tari is
would take you behind that woodshed, bend you over a barrel and show you the 50 states. I would be against Houston. I think Memphis is a little bit overrated, honestly. I mean, as long as we have no weapons involved, what is Zach Edey going to do? The big oaf is going to come trundling over. I think Isaiah Hartenstein takes him out behind back.
There's nobody on that team that you're scared of
in that regard.
Way overrated. If they're considered to be toward the top of this, they're way overrated.
Yeah. I will say Jokic. I mean, we saw what he did to the Morris brother. Let's not forget Jokic in all of this.
Yeah. I think Denver is probably underrated in this discussion.
Jimmy Butler and Draymond.
I was going to say there's a lot of talking. I would say there's a whole lot of talking, but beyond the talking, I don't know that I would be that afraid of that team. Also,
I'd be terrified of those two guys.
Also, you'd have Steph Curry that would just be like, "Hey, everybody, just calm down. Just calm down."
Yeah, he'd be a peacemaker. He'd be a peacemaker.
So
but yeah, I mean, Zach Edey looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. I think in basketball and in a Donnie
wait. Were you not an Edey guy?
Oh no. I don't particularly love Edey. I love Edey for Memphis because they can hide him with Jaren Jackson Jr. But overall, not an Edey guy. Dallas, PJ Washington, whatever. Okay. I could get there with PJ. I could low key get there with Jaden Hardy. I think Jaden Hardy could really do some
damage. Hardy.
Oh yeah, I think Jaden Hardy could do some damage to you.
Just because he's got big biceps?
Oh yeah, I mean that's half the battle, ain't it? I mean, if
I don't know. I had a friend of mine that called biceps a vanity muscle the other day. It's not actually doing much for you. So,
I mean, there's a lot of farmers in Lawton that would agree with you on that. But
hey, by the way, we're talking about this last draft a little bit here and there. Who would you take number one in the 2024 draft if you were given a chance to redraft? And you could go back in time and you could tell Landry Fields, like, don't draft Risa Shea. You should draft. Who would it be? Castle. Okay.
Because I think that there's a lot there to give you promising upside, and there's also a lot there to feel confident that he's going to be a long-term winning impact player. And the rest of that draft, like, who do you know for sure will make a winning impact on a team besides Castle? Jalen Wells could, but I think the Castle ceiling is higher.
Oh, way higher.
Like way higher. Like
McCain.
So like McCain, I love McCain. I've been a big McCain guy. But I think that Castle's ceiling is a little bit higher than McCain. McCain would be my number 2 pick of like the mixture of ceiling and talent, floor talent. So like, I just think in a draft like that, I would much rather, especially like for Atlanta, who already has Trae Young, that either will still be a part of your future or could net you a haul to restart things. I would much rather lean with a guy like Castle, who could be a star, but also could be just a highly impactful winning player, and not go for the mystery box of like Risha Shea, who I could see not being much of anything in this league, frankly, in a few years from now. I don't feel confident in his floor at all. And then even Sarr, who I like Sarr, the reason I take McCain and Castle over Sarr would be that, to me, Sarr can't be maximized by himself. Like, Sarr's been fine, but you see it clearly every time you watch Sarr. Without a lead guard, he's nothing. I mean, it's similar, but not a one-to-one with how great Derek Lively was last year. Derek Lively was incredible last year, but if he didn't have Luka Doncic spoon-feeding him easy buckets, the statistics and the impact would have been lessened. And Sarr's a guy like that who needs to be spoon-fed buckets, and the Wizards don't have a ton of guys who can set him up. That really hampers what he can do. So you're having to build a roster around the guy who needs help, and I don't love that.
Yeah, I'm a Castle guy too, but I honestly would probably take McCain number 1 though.
Okay, I'm not against that. I'm not against it. You know,
I know you're not.
Guy.
I know. I would take McCain number 1. I just think guys that can score like that are really tough to find, and he's basically been what everybody thought Reed Shepherd would be, and it stinks that he's out, but yeah, he was interesting. Okay, let's see. At James Ingle 29, where are you on Kaysen? Are you expecting him to be a really great role player in the future, or do you still think he's capable of being a star? Would your opinion of his ceiling be different if he wasn't on the Thunder? A star. I think it's hard to be an NBA star and have the limited, like off the bounce stuff. I think is pretty limited for him. It's not impossible for him to get there, but I think it's really, really tough. I definitely lean toward like being a great role player in the NBA for like a really long time. Like, I guess like my question would be is like, do we consider Drew Holiday or even like slightly less than Drew Holiday a star? Would be my question.
I don't think that we do. I think that Kaysen's a star in his role. And that even if you look at his Kentucky film of like, well, what if he went to a team that would have given him more on-ball chances? And he's gotten more on-ball chances this year compared to last year. It's pretty clear that he's a better complementary on-ball player than he is like a full-time on-ball guy. And that's like the only thing stopping him from being a star is being better on the ball. So I don't think he could have star potential elsewhere. I think that this was always going to be the best version of Kaysen, of a guy who can do a little bit of both, but is excellent defensively, is excellent as a play finisher, and really helps you win basketball games. And he's done just that. It's similar to like Wiggins. Wiggins now, after the scoring barrage, people are wondering if he could have been a star somewhere else. I don't think so. I think that Wiggins could have been at best like a Cam Thomas type, where he's putting up flashy numbers because he's the one allowed to shoot. But when it comes down to trying to win games, if you move Wiggins up the scouting report, I think that it changes his scoring level a little bit. He's just excellent at what the Thunder need him to do and what winning teams need him to do. And it's why that, we call him Winning Wiggins, Andy. He just makes winning plays. So I think that all these guys are being maximized to a pretty high level. And we just always want more out of them. And sometimes people want more from you, Andrew, and you just don't have more to give.
It's true. It's true. Okay, last question. I'm sorry if we didn't get to your question, but
I'll take the blame for that, for the News 9 distractions.
That's right. Can't podcast forever, but really appreciate you guys helping us out today. At Julius_Rec wants to know, St. Joseph's Rasheer Fleming to the Thunder on draft night. How do you react? He would be the first Rasheer in the NBA, which I think is very exciting. By the way, First, at least looking at Basketball Reference, I believe he's the only Rasheer to ever play in the NBA, which is amazing. He's an interesting prospect. I need to watch more of him, to be honest. But like the kind of player that he is, I think is the kind of player the Thunder should be looking for. He's a 6'9", 250-pound, like 4 basically. He is a junior. He's almost 21 years old, but he's a guy that's putting up pretty good numbers for St. Joe's and is he's a nice player. His shooting has gotten a lot better this year. Now, do you buy the shooting? Do you not buy the shooting? I think is like kind of like the biggest thing, but he's like a good rebounder, like good on steals and blocks. I think he'd fit in with the Thunder on the defensive end, but I guess it really just depends on if you believe in the shooting or not. And I haven't honestly dug in enough to have like a great opinion on that. Have you, Rylan?
Yeah, I think that with him, one, the Thunder have like gone and watched him in person. So I mean, they'll get to talk to him and everything pre-draft. So they'll have a way better idea than myself. I think that my reaction would be rooted in that of if the Thunder drafted him, they've clearly talked to him, they've seen him up close, way closer than we have, and what we've seen from him of like how we get to evaluate him on film is that he's an excellent defender with excellent wingspan, excellent size, that will get him on the floor to help contribute to this team. And then if they draft him, they're banking on that 3-point shot. And they have Chip England as well to refine some of that, some of those 3-point mechanics. So I would be happy with that pick just because I feel like he's another guy that is a high floor, low ceiling, which isn't a bad thing for where the Thunder are at. The Thunder feel like they have, or should feel like they have, their ceiling guys. They have their top end talent, and what you need now with each passing draft is guys who can come in, play immediately, and help you win games while they're still on their rookie scale contracts, because you're going to have to pay these guys as soon as this summer. So I would like to pick. The Thunder have seen him play in person. I wonder what they think of him, but I would like it.
Yeah, I think he is interesting, especially if the Clippers pick falls in like that 17 or whatever range. Then yeah, I think it's interesting. Okay, thank you, Rylan, for coming on the show. You can find Rylan at Locked On Thunder podcast. You can find him on the OKC Dream Team podcast. What else? Thunder on SI.
Thunder on SI and at Rylan_Stiles. I always love podding with you, Andrew.
There you go. It's a joy. It's a delight. Something else that's delightful is our iHeart shirts. Go get yourself an iHeart shirt today. You can find the link at the top of the Down to Dunk Twitter. And even if you just Google like Down to Dunk shirts, you could get to our Shopify account and order that there. So be sure to order that. You can find bootleg of
stay
these.
vigilant. Don't do the bootlegs. Stay vigilant.
Yeah, don't do the bootlegs. There's tons of bootleg dog shirts out there that are just sad, honestly. So don't do that. Go get those today. Appreciate you guys listening and tuning in. If you are watching right now on YouTube, which we got a ton of people watching, just hit the like button for me right now. Leave a comment, not in the chat, but in the comments section underneath there, please. Leave a little comment about who you think is the Thunder's toughest opponent in the Western Conference. Just let us know in the comments section. Would appreciate that very much. Hope you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you guys again on Wednesday.